Welcome to the Pink Pixel Show. This is our first show. I'm Francesca.
And I'm Sophie.
And we're here to grow your business. Okay, so very first show. So this is new to both of us. I'm very good at talking, so in theory this should go well for me.
Likewise. But how are you feeling, Fran?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really relaxed. We're actually here at the BH Podcast Studios in Bournemouth, and it's a fantastic setup. They've got our brand going on. We've got the brand colours. The guys behind the desk have just been really helpful, just giving us a few tips of how to do a podcast. So we're really excited. How are you feeling?
I feel like this is a hot seat. I'm not gonna lie. It feels a little bit like, oh, I'm on the spot. But no, I'm super excited. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I think just meeting you as well, which we're going to talk about as well in a sec. But meeting you has really brought this together, and it's your lovely branding. This is Francesca's work. It's just amazing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me, so we met. Let's talk about how we met. We met just in the last couple of months. We were introduced by a mutual friend, a family member of yours, and we met in a pub. I was like, should we go and have a drink? Find out a little bit about each other, because it sounded like we had, complementary skills, and we were both very much the same person, very driven and very passionate about what we do.
We even said that this morning, didn't we? Yeah. When we turned up, like, oh.
Yeah, so we basically turned up today in literally black attire, just very black, very muted, and neither of us got the memo on that, did we?
No, and tan handbags.
And tanned handbags, which aren't here right now. But it was like, you were saying you're going to wear a pink top. I was like, I don't think I've even got a pink top anymore. That's why I wear very boring colours now. So, so we've turned up. Yeah, we are very alike. But I've been thinking about doing a podcast for a while in the back of my mind, and so had you.
Yeah.
And when we got down to the pub this day, we literally just first met, and I already thought about the Pink Pixel Show. I was sat there thinking, we'd be really good in a podcast. And I didn't say anything because I thought it might be a bit weird. I've only just met you. And 5 minutes later, you said the same, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And I think it's because, with podcasts as well, you can really speak to the people, the audience. And and it is one of the best, fastest viral, I guess, forms of media that you can do. It's way more engaging. It's got that human connection. And I just think it's a really good chance for us to show off our skills. I think that, in a lot of business transactions that we do tends to be over email or telephone calls. And it's not until you have that initial meeting with somebody that you can, see if there's a chemistry fit. And I've been told that I should have been meeting you for years.
So, why did you take so long?
I don't know. I did a lot of other things in the background. I was going all over the place. But
as you can see, we've clearly hit it off. And let's just talk a bit about what we do, because people are like, what do they do then? So my agency is interBlu Digital, and my background is user experience design, user interface design, and I've done that for 20 years now, so that makes me feel really old. I have been so fortunate to work across many of the fantastic creative agencies down here in the South Coast, over the Paul and Bournemouth area. I've worked in-house corporate, I've worked at startups. I've gone from a junior graphic designer right up to head of digital in all those years. And I feel so fortunate that I've had that experience. I've worked with some fantastic teams. And as you can hopefully tell, I absolutely love what I do. And started interBlu Digital just a couple of months ago, and focusing very much on, what I truly believe in is it's great user experience, great user interfaces, and just creating great digital products. And as part of that, and it's going to segue nicely into what Sophie does, and I don't want to go too far into, my sort of what I like to do day to day, but data is so important to me, because I can make design decisions based on my knowledge, my experience. I know it works well. I very much listen to the users, but I always like to back that up with data, because if I tell a client that's going to work, the data will always show whether it really does, and you can measure, and that just really excites me. So that's basically what you do. So we really harmonise, don't we?
Yeah, I don't even know how I got to where I am, really. I've set up my company, Valiant Digital, last year? Yeah, last year. And I'm we obviously have that in common with UX, but whereas you do the design side of things and the creativity, if you will, of that kind of stuff, I like to look at the data and the numbers and the figures and the patterns and the trends and seeing what's actually going on and being able to feed that back to you, to give you that the basis for where are we at with things and how are we going to get to why. I love that, and it really excites me. But yeah, I mean, getting into marketing to begin with was really strange for me. I mean, I used to be an ironmonger. Like, I used to sell door hardware.
That still makes me laugh.
I mean, that was only a few years back as well. So, I mean, in that time, I became I just listened to everything that this marketing agency was saying about an in-house website. Applied everything. I kept asking all these questions like, why does that? What if we do this? What will happen with that? Why do we need to do this? What effect is it going to have with that? And you start to pick it up. You just start to say, oh, okay. And I always thought people had to have a degree in marketing. I don't. I've got one in English literature. But somehow I managed to become an SEO specialist. And yeah, I was very fortunate to work with an amazing team, who's now a London-based team, and with some really cool clients. And yeah, there was a gap in the data, because there was only one person in the data team, and I made the decision to sort of swap teams, because I love analytics. I love just finding the things that people don't see and being able to use it to storytell and say, well, this is what's actually happening. This is what you think's happening, but this is actually what's happening. Yeah, and then after all of that, I worked my way up to marketing manager in training. And yeah, last year I decided to open my own business, and then we met. And you know, just hearing what your skill sets were with the design, it's like we got the full picture. It's like you are the missing part to the jigsaw that I'm looking for, which is to have somebody that understands what I do, but in a different way.
Yeah, you can visualize it, you know, really come in and visualize it and look at the data that I look at is the user data as well, which I know you do to a degree, but a lot of user research, user session analysis, and that really then marries up with what Sophie does. So I can look at my data, then I can get Sophie to go and look at her data, and hopefully it's telling the same story.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about, is telling a story, like what is actually happening with your website, you know, what are the users doing? Are they coming in and are they doing what you want them to do? So is your website working as hard as you are? Basically, that's what we always want, because people work so hard in their business and that needs to be reflected in their website. And you just need to make the user experience, so the person coming to your website, whether they're coming to buy a product, to book a ticket, to find a timetable, whatever that is, whatever that conversion point is, it has to be so easy to do. And I've, you know, that's why I get so excited, because I can look at websites and they can be quite catastrophic in terms of so much going on. They're just so busy, and you get there and you go, where on earth am I meant to go now? And I can see that right away. And then I look at the data tells me that, and then we can clean that up so nicely and just make that conversion funnel happen so much quicker and increase that conversion rate. And then that's, you know, that makes a huge impact on business. So we can make a really small change to a website design. It could just be messaging. So it's not always down to the actual visual necessarily, not necessarily the button styles or the colors. It's to do with the messaging. It's to do with the trust. This is why people are going to buy from you. So there's all sorts of things when you talk about design that you look at. It's designing that entire experience, the customer experience, not just necessarily the interface, though that does come into it. And I always have a hypothesis to what I think is going to happen, you know, if I do this, and then Sophie can then come in and make sure everything's tracked for me, because I think that's one of the main things. It's like a lot of websites, you know, I work with clients and got Google Analytics. Yeah, okay, great. Let's have a look. I mean, come on, you tell us. So that's got such a big
it's like
bugbear of
opening
yours.
Pandora's box, isn't it? It's just like, well, what are we going to actually find in here? And, you know, it's really small, but really, really important things. Like, you know, well, let's look at the events that you're tracking. You've got a telephone number and an email address on the site. Are you tracking those things? Nope. Can I even click on them? Nope. Okay, well, that's probably an immediate fix. That's something that we can work on instantly. A very small change that wouldn't take long to actually sort. And makes a big difference. And then that data can be fed into your other advertising, like it could be a conversion event for your Google ads or your, you know, Facebook ads and stuff like that. And you're feeding that data, you're building audiences, you're learning more about the people that are actually buying from you. The more you learn about them, the better you're going to be able to speak to them and market to them.
Yeah, and that's what I love about you, because you you zoom out
Oh.
even further. Lots of things I love, but yeah, you zoom out. So Sophie zooms out even further. So I do look at that sort of entry point into to the website or the app, whatever that might be. And Sophie sort of steps out a little bit and goes, okay, well, let's see what the ads are doing. Are the ads consistent? Why are they calling themselves this company name in this ad and different in this ad? And that's that trust piece again. So making sure there's that continuity across all the marketing messaging, whether it's coming from an email campaign, whether it's coming from a Meta ad, a Google, ads campaign or Google shopping merchant. It's just all has to be coherent and join up.
Yeah.
Because again, another thing people like to do, and you'll know this more if anything, is drive traffic to the website. Drive traffic. And you just get loads of traffic. Great. And then it drops off because it doesn't know what to do and it gets there. So people are spending all that money on Google ads because that's what they think they need to do.
Yeah.
Which to a degree there is. But you need to make sure that conversion, pushing loads of traffic to your website doesn't mean it's going to convert.
No.
But once you've got that conversion in a good place, then absolutely just throw loads of traffic at it and see the success.
Yeah, otherwise you're just kind of like just throwing whatever out there and just being like, okay, I'll work on this, I'll work on this, I'll work on this, I'm working this. And then you're running around like a headless chicken without actually making an impact on something. And I think that's what I love working with you as well, is because we have the same brain when it comes to UX of like, are the buttons and the trust signals in the right place?
Yeah.
And, are there any barriers to conversion that we can immediately see that need to be fixed?
Yeah.
But I with the data side of things, my brain works in terms of like going down rabbit holes and looking into the facts and the figures
Inspector
and seeing.
Sophie, as I like to call you. That's what we nicknamed. She's like she should work in the police force. Honestly, she's like, have you seen this? I've just found this.
I've always wanted to do that. Actually, I actually thought I'd be really good at actually looking at like surveillance stuff and analysing the data to see where people are.
You're very in the details, so she doesn't miss a trick at all. Which is what I love.
But I love feeding that information to you. It's like, hey Fran, like this client that we're working on at the moment, you've asked me to look at this, but just so that you're aware, I found this. And then that I feel like the clients that we work with actually get more value for their money because we've got that ability to be able to raise more than what they've asked for.
Because we're proactive. You certainly are. You're always going above and beyond what I've asked you to look at. You come back, hey, but have you seen this? And that's why I love working with you, and that's what makes us such a powerhouse to work together, because we can offer.
We get very excited too.
Everything that you want and more, and we're happy to tell. We like to be generous with our our thoughts, and we give a lot to clients, don't we? Before we've even
and neither one of us does a set package. Like, I am so annoyed at some of the quotes that I've seen some of the clients getting from other people where it's like a blanket price for SEO. For some things that using my expertise, it's like, well, that's not even a thing. And you've put that into a proposal. And then it's like having to have a conversation with the client to say, okay, you've got a really cheap quote for something like this, but actually there's loads of stuff in there you don't actually need, and what you do actually need is this. And then it makes our job a little bit hard to try and talk to them and show them how does that all fit together, and why is it going to be we were doing this and we're not giving you a blanket. And I think
that's it. Well, we were just talking about this on the way up here, weren't we? Because one of the biggest challenges, I think, for all parts of digital is, actually working out what a proposal looks like. And the analogy I used, so if I'm thinking about like a development project and I need to get some sort of time estimate and proposal from the developer, he is not going to know that until he's seen the designs and the structure and what we're going to do with SEO and all that type of thing. So, you wouldn't ask a builder to build your house before the architect's done his drawings. And it's very similar for what we do. So it's also getting people to understand that there needs to be some form of discovery. If somebody's telling you your SEO's this much before they've even looked at your site, before they've even studied your market,
that's the bit that annoys me. When they haven't got a strategy in place, there's no actual goal, and it's just like, we'll just do it for this. Like, that really, really irritates me. I know it irritates a lot of marketers, like good marketers that are in our industry as well, because it gives us a bad name when things don't work out because you've got a really cheap quote focusing on things that don't matter, and then automatic SEO doesn't work for me. Well, actually it probably will if it was done properly and professionally. And that, I think, is the one big annoyance that I have, really.
And I know enough about SEO to understand sometimes what I need to ask Sophie for.
You speak my language.
But it's SEO as is an ongoing piece. So so I was going to say technical SEO is something which you can do, which kind of, depending on how much other things on the website change, sort of stays the same. But just consistently looking at those keywords, content marketing. And that's something which needs to, again, be understood, that it's just an ongoing piece to ensure that everything's, Google algorithms, for a start.
Trying to keep up with those.
Keeping on top of those. And it's same with UX, user trends, the way that people use websites change. You'll just get a website, a really popular website. I don't know, I was going to name one, let's say ASOS, for instance. So ASOS, from fashion retail point of view, I really like how they're if you're looking at like a product page and you've seen how you select your size, how you select your color, I think they've nailed that quite well.
Yeah.
And people will see that and people will get that and they'll go, I like that way that I can choose my color, choose my size.
But there's also SEO element that feeds into that, because if there's search volume for, I don't know, size 8 women's dresses, then instead of having that as a filter, having that as an actual landing page and building that into a filter is going to serve you twice. One in the SERPs, the search engine results pages, but also online with the user experience.
Yes.
And like with these shows as well that we're going to be doing going forwards, I'm really excited about, if we've got all these topics that we're going to go through, from everything from UX to data to AI.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots to cover. But to come back to that point in terms of trends, what I'm, the point is that because trends change, so if somebody's having that experience on the ASOS site and they really like that, they want to then see that when they're shopping on Amazon. They then want to see that when they're shopping on
it's an expectation,
John Lewis,
isn't that?
The expectation. And that's, for me, how, you've got to keep on top of it with how, users are interacting with websites and what they're expecting to see. So point being, if you have an e-commerce site that you built, 2 or 3 years ago and you haven't changed the interface, you need to have a look at how other, websites are transacting and keep on top of that. And so that's really, and again, that ongoing piece.
Competitors as well, their websites as well. If you have got a competitor who is regularly changing things, chances are that they're doing some testing. They're trying to see what actually works. And you can actually learn quite a lot about, come up with ideas for your own site. Using competitors. What do you like about what their website does? What do you think would actually make your visitors' lives a bit easier? And then you can use the data as well to say, oh, do you know what? Everyone's kind of dropping off at this point. Well, where's the problem? And that's when you can install things like Hotjar and Clarity and have a look. See.
Yes.
I love that bit.
I'd spin that around a little bit, because I think it is good to look at competitors, but also just get going to the user.
Oh yeah.
How is that user? How are they, expecting the site to be as well? But there's certainly things that you can see across certain sectors which are, working well. We always used to say something like, let's see what John Lewis is doing, because they've probably put a lot of marketing spend into user experience. And there might be some good, some thoughts and design there. So there are certain ones which are up there, which
I think it's nice to get the inspiration there, to have a little look out, just to see, and think about your own way of shopping. What really annoys you when you go to a website? I mean, for you as well, what's one of the I was going to ask you this question, but what's one of the most annoying things that you see when you're auditing a website?
So it's a really good question, because I audit a lot of websites, and I think sometimes for me it's the unclarity of a message. It's just can be like, what are you doing? Like, what am I here for? What's your service? And just the call to action. So just to explain what a call to action is, that's the sort of point of conversion. So a call to action on a product page would be buy now, add to cart. If you were going to, the call to action was to get in touch, and it would be call us, get in touch, fill out the form, that type of thing. And on a web page, that needs to be really clear. And sometimes these buttons, so the call to action is usually in like the form of a button, they're just like, there's loads of buttons on the page trying to get you to go down all different, routes on the website. They're all the same colour, so there's no hierarchy in like sort of primary, secondary and tertiary.
Makes me sad.
It does. And it's just some things like that actually are really quite easy to get right. And I think you then, again, coming back to the user, you confuse the user. And there's a really famous marketing story about jam. So let's talk about jam for a minute.
I don't think I've heard this one.
So this is a good one. So this is in Tesco's. I don't know if it's mythical or if it's true, but it makes sense either way. So I don't really care at this point whether it's true or not, because it is going to make sense, and it happens to me. And it's all about the cognitive load in terms of trying to choose something. So there was a story that there was like, and it is true, and even peanut butter, even if you want to look at that, there's like 50 different types. Let's go for peanut butter then. You know, all these types of peanut butter on the shelf, and you're trying to choose, and the more choice there is, the harder it is to choose, and then you're likely to then just, you know, just maybe even walk away. And the idea is the less choice, the more, you know, streamlined you can then be with, you know, making that purchase happen. And I think apparently, if it's true, I'm going to find out. So on the next show, I will come back with whether this is a true story. But they reduced the selections of jams down to just 3 or 4 different brands, and they were selling a lot more. So I think people just got overloaded with the choice.
Get overwhelmed, don't they, into inaction.
Yeah. And that's the same for the websites. You know, if you go on a website, you get overwhelmed, and then you just might click off it. And again, if I'm buying something, and I've done this with user research before, and I've heard users say it, but you always think people are going to buy because it's cheaper. They're going to look, and to a point, of course you will. You always want to get the best deal. If you're looking for a product and it's cheaper somewhere else, but if that website you've never heard of or don't trust, you're probably not going to buy from there. It's like, oh my God, is this going to be a scam? Is it even going to turn up?
Yeah.
So people will buy on trust. So this is £5 more over here, but actually, I know this website, I buy from it. So you know, that's really, really key.
I think that also feeds into like the awareness of the product as well, because like I'm just thinking with that analogy of the peanut butter or the jam, and I've got that choice. If I'm looking for something really specific, like I don't know, honey, right? So Manuka honey is obviously a lot more expensive than just runny honey. But I know that it's going to be more expensive because as a consumer, I'm aware that, you know, it has it's got more properties and, you know, benefits and stuff like that, and it's going to be more expensive. So I know already when I'm looking and I'm browsing that I can expect a certain price range. And I think that that ties into all the messaging as well, doesn't it? With, you know, why buy this pot of jam? Well, because it's not just because it's shiny, but because it's actually telling me what I'm going to get with it, and it matches what I actually want to buy.
Yeah, clarity of the product.
Yeah.
So so as you can see, we're very passionate there. So I'm going to ask you a question now.
Okay.
So good question, and I obviously
I told you it was a hot seat.
Okay, so as we know, with digital, you know, we absolutely need specialists. But also, you know, for business owners, it's, you know, it's nice to be able to empower them to be doing some things that they can be doing to their website. And that's really what we're about as well. It's not always about us doing it, but actually empowering and teaching our clients to be able to do things themselves. So what would you say from an SEO perspective, what's the one thing like a non-digital person, so say just like average business owner who can, you know, is sort of digitally savvy, could be doing to improve their SEO, which doesn't necessarily need a specialist the whole time?
Interesting question. So it really depends. And I think like you've got some clients who, okay, they're not digitally minded, but they might be a fantastic writer. So writing their own content is something that they could do themselves. And I know that like obviously with the rise of AI as well, it's making it a lot easier for people to do things. That's a whole different story that we will go into because
it wouldn't have been if we hadn't mentioned AI today, we just wouldn't have been cool.
No, it wouldn't. We've mentioned it twice now.
That's enough.
There's enough. But no, going back to that question, I think, you know, there's definitely things that people can be doing. I've done a lot of stuff on my own business, things that are outside my own comfort zone, like social media. I've set up my own social media pages. I'm posting regularly. That's me. That's creating it using a free template in Canva. I'm not a designer. I'm doing it. There's a way to do it. I think it comes down to time as well, because have you actually got the time to invest to actually give your business a boost, to remain consistent, to plan out content for the next 12 months or however long you want to do it for, to be thinking about the next thing and strategically for you and the opportunities that come to you. But there's a lot of things that can be worked on. And I think like for clients, probably, I think the clients that we work with, I think the ones that have the sort of most benefit, the ones that want to do things for themselves, they have our guidance. We're able to tell them, well, here's a list of tasks that need to be done. These are ones that are actually fairly easy. If we give you some training on, you could actually do those yourselves, which would reduce your costs. Because if we had to do it, it's going to be more time for us to do it, whereas we could be working on something else to further improve their presence and their rankings and their websites. So there's a lot of things. Metadata, for example, like that, stuff like that. If you've got the training on how to do the keyword research and you know what to put in a title and a description, it's a foundational level bit of SEO, but it still needs to be done. But I think people do benefit from having that guidance of someone who has lived and breathed it for as long as we have.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff they can do, but I would probably hire an expert to tell you what to focus on.
So as Sophie said, we're really flexible with how we work because we do appreciate that people also to want to keep their costs down. Sometimes they're starting out on business, they don't have a lot of investment for marketing, but we can at least give them some guidance and a bit of hand holding to set them on their way. So equally happy to
just guide. Like how I learned, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I sat in a room with a marketing agency, listening to what they were saying, writing down everything.
Yeah.
And applying it myself to the point that I started realizing, well, actually, I'm going to push back on this bit because I think that's going to impact that.
Yeah.
But so it is achievable. I've done it.
Yeah. And I think this is what's going to be great about this show is that we're going to be talking, we're going to have some topics each week, aren't we, that we're going to focus on. We're going to, use the opportunities to give some advice. What could, you be doing as a business owner to improve your website? We're going to run some webinars as well at some point, just so people can come on and have some really focused sessions.
And ask their own questions as well. We're happy to answer questions.
But I think also this, with us coming together, so sort of taking aside the sort of our skill sets of UX, UI, SEO, data, we're two women in business, we're two solopreneurs. We've both gone out on our own and it's been great meeting Sophie, just having that sort of that support, and sounding ideas off each other. And
we're better together.
Definitely better, stronger together for sure. And I think actually sometimes people can be too precious and not share. And that's not me and that's not you.
No.
And actually, like you say, having, our skills together and our passion is just given us so many more opportunities already, hasn't it?
It was kind of like founded as well on us having the same values as well. Yeah. We both wanted to do good. We wanted to do good for our communities. We wanted to help small businesses, particularly in the economy that we're in at the moment. We want to see people succeed. It's just what drives us. It's what motivates us.
Yes.
And we share that passion.
Yeah.
And we're able to do it. And it's like the moment that I met you, it was just like, oh my gosh, like it's like literally talking to myself a little bit here, but
yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
but no, I can't wait to add value to people and to help them grow. I think this is awesome and I love it.
Yeah, no, me too. And I think what you'll hear from the show as well is us talking about the founder side of things as well. So we will be doing like a show focused on what it's like to start your business, what it's like to be on your own.
Very quiet, sometimes lonely.
Yeah, it can be, and it's from that point of like having that shared, the sounding board,
and you're on a journey together.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Oh, this has been a really fun first show.
This has been a fantastic show. I think, I've really enjoyed it. So,
thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, guys. See you next time.